Hey you guys, this is Mr. Millings, and in this video we are going to learn how to convert moles to grams and grams to moles for elements on the periodic table of elements. So get your periodic table of elements out, grab your scientific calculator, and let's jump right in on some problems. If you're watching this video, then you've probably already learned about the mole and Avogadro's number and the relationship of those two things to your periodic table of elements and the masses that we see in each little box at the bottom or underneath the atomic symbol. And in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to start learning how to convert grams to moles and moles to grams using your periodic table of elements and your scientific calculators. So let's jump right in here and take a look at a problem. In this first problem, it says how many moles are in 8.03 times 10 to the fourth grams of nickel. So if we take a look at this problem here, what this problem is telling us is that we have 8.03 times 10 to the fourth grams of nickel. And what we want to do is we want to figure out how many moles this many grams of nickel is going to be equal to. So if we take a look at our periodic table of elements and we take a look at nickel, we can see that the molar mass of nickel is 58.69 grams per mole. That means that for every 1 mole of nickel that we have, it's going to have a mass of 58.69 grams of nickel. And this mass of nickel, which represents 1 mole of nickel, is going to contain 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of nickel. And so in an earlier video we learned this relationship, but how can we make this conversion? How can we convert 8.03 times 10 to the fourth grams of nickel to moles? Well, let's take a look. We're starting off with 8.03 times 10 to the fourth grams of nickel, and what we want to do here is we're going to use some dimensional analysis to figure out the answer to this problem. So the first thing that we want to do here is we want to cancel out grams of nickel. If we want to cancel out the unit grams of nickel, well, where are we going to put that in our equivalent statement right here, or in this fraction right here? Well, units can cancel out just like numbers. For example, if we have this expression right here, 3 times 1 over 3, this 3 in the numerator and this 3 in the denominator can cancel out, and we end up with an answer of 1. Well, units can cancel out in the same fashion that numbers do. So if we want to cancel out grams of nickel here, we're going to have to put this in the denominator of our equivalent statement or fraction right here. And what are we trying to convert to? We want to figure out the number of moles of nickel this is. So now what you have to ask yourself is what relationship exists between these two units of measurement? Well, we just got done saying right here that 1 mole of nickel is 58.69 grams if we take a look at the periodic table, right? We know that 1 mole of nickel is 58.69 grams of nickel. What we can see now is that grams of nickel in the numerator and denominator are going to cancel out. And so how do we put this in our calculator? Well, we're going to start all the way on the left with this number here. We're going to work our way from left to right, and we can ignore values or numbers of 1. And we see that 58.69 is in the denominator, so that means we're going to divide. So we'll simply take 8.03 times 10 to the fourth, and we're going to divide by 58.69. So let's go ahead and do that. Plug that into your calculator as I plug it into my calculator. We'll take 8.03 times 10 to the fourth, and we're going to divide this by 58.69, and we're going to end up with 1.37 times 10 to the third. What unit is left over? Well, we have moles of nickel. So, if we take a look at this problem right here, if we have 8.03 times 10 to the fourth grams of nickel, that is going to equal this right here. That is going to equal 1.37 times 10 to the third moles of nickel. Let's take a look at another example. In this second example, it says, how many grams are in 5.97 times 10 to the 7th moles of argon? So let's read that one more time. How many grams are in 5.97 times 10 to the 7th moles of argon? So in this problem here, it looks like we're talking about argon. So let's go ahead and find argon on our periodic table, and we see that it's right here. Here is argon right here. And so let's take a closer look here. If we take a close look, it says how many grams are in 5.97 times 10 to the 7th moles of argon. So in this problem here, we know the number of moles of argon, and what we're trying to figure out is the number of grams, right? We want to figure out the number of grams of argon there are if we have this many moles of argon. So we have to take a look at our periodic table and figure out what the molar mass of argon is. And if we take a look really close, it tells us right here, right? It tells us that there are 39.95 grams of argon for every 1 mole of argon. Right? 1 mole of argon is 39.95 grams of argon, or 39.95 grams of argon is 1 mole of argon. So we can use this little equivalency statement here to solve this problem. So let's go ahead and do that. We are starting off with 5.97 times 10 to the 7th moles of argon. And what we want to do here is we want to cancel out the moles of argon, and we want to convert it to grams. So we want to cancel out moles of argon. So we're going to put that in the denominator here. So we want to cancel out moles of argon, and we want to convert this to grams of argon is what the question is asking for. And so what we now have to ask ourselves is, what relationship exists between these two units? Well, we just got done figuring that out. We used our periodic table to determine that 1 mole of argon is 39.95 grams of argon. If we take a look, moles of argon in the numerator here and moles of argon in the denominator here are going to cancel, leaving us with grams of argon as our final unit of measurement left over. So now if we start from the left and work our way from left to right, we see that 39.95 is in the numerator. That means we're going to have to multiply this number here times this number here. So let's go ahead and do that. We have 5.97 times 10 to the 7th times 39.95. And if we put this in scientific notation and round to the correct number of significant figures, we have 3 sig figs right here. So our answer must be 3 sig figs. We're going to end up with 2.39 times 10 to the 9th grams of argon. Okay, so if we have 5.97 times 10 to the 7th moles of argon, it looks like we just figured this out. It's going to equal 2.39 times 10 to the 9th grams of argon. So that is how we're going to use our periodic table of elements to make conversions of elements when we're asked to go from moles to grams and grams to moles. In these example problems, it says to perform the following calculations and round your answers to 3 significant figures. And it also asks you to put your answer in scientific notation. So here are some sample problems for you. What I recommend you do at this point is pause the video, get out a sheet of paper and a scientific calculator, a periodic table, and try these on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to give you the answers to these problems right about now. So how did you do? If you got them all right, then it sounds like you know how to make some mole to gram and gram to mole conversions as they relate to elements on the periodic table. If you like what you see, go ahead and click that little bomb in the bottom right hand corner, and that's going to subscribe you to my channel. And feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comment section down below. And I really hope you guys found this helpful.